All right, it's 1 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. And the first item of business is approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Resolved that the agenda be approved. Moved by McKay, seconded by Mayberry. Any issues with that agenda? Anybody want to change anything? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Not seeing any. Adoption of the board minutes of the previous meeting. I have a mover and a seconder that the library board minutes of June 20th, 2022 be adopted. Moved by Regina, seconded by Mayberry. Any issues with those minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Consideration of delegations and presentations and consideration thereof. There is none. Correspondence, none. So reports 8.1. 2022-14 Children and Teen Services Policy. Lisa Marie, is there anything you want to highlight for the board in that?
Thank you, Chair. So this policy is a requirement, or not a requirement, but a suggestion, highly suggested addition for the reaccreditation, and it adds to our point value for reaccreditation. For this report and policy, staff worked to kind of harmonize language throughout this policy and others that have recently been passed, and those that are also within this package, so that we can use consistent language throughout. We updated some of the language, including instead of young adult, using the term teen, which has become much more popular in recent years, and framing everything as parent/caregiver instead of kind of going through a list of potential guardians and so on. So everything you'll see aligns that way. We did also adjust some of the access to information in order to help assist us with the legal framework required for borrowing of DVDs. So our teen cards now will change to people will be changed to teen cards when they reach the age of 14. It used to be 13, which often caused us some problems when loaning material that was DVDs with 14A as a rating. So that will help us in terms of keeping track of things and making sure we're meeting our legal requirements. We also changed some language from reporting child abuse and neglect to duty to report. This was to mimic the legislative language that was found in the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act 2017. I welcome any questions or comments.
Any questions for Lisa Marie on that policy? Yeah.
I can't see. Marcus, is it all right if I ask a question?
Sorry, David, I can barely hear you. Did anybody make out what that was?
Sorry, I'll speak up. Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that. Is it all right if I ask a question? I just wanted to know on the duty to report, are county staff actually designated or required under the duty to report? Are we in position of authority? I guess that's really the question. I understand doctors, teachers, that sort of stuff, CAS workers, that sort of thing. I wasn't sure that library staff were.
I think I caught what you're asking for. So in the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act, it does give, and there's an entire section of that act that reports, that's on duty to report, and everyone has a duty to report. So with that framework in mind, we continued the language that was previously already there.
Thank you.
Okay, Julia and then Laura.
Is it just DVDs that are limited by age, or is there any other material that's age limited?
The Film Classification Act is what has the framework for what we need to restrict by age group. So it is only DVDs and video that has a restriction on it at this time.
Laura?
I was just wondering about the unattended children. Is there like an age that we have in mind for that? Or is it just kind of if it comes to the attention of staff and it seems like they're in need of care? Or how do you look at that, I guess?
But we continued on with the language found in the previous policy that doesn't give you a framework of age. It gives staff a little bit more flexibility. And there isn't an age requirement in any legal framework to help us with determining exactly, unless you wanted to use under the age of 16, which seems really, it would be difficult for us to enact that and not allow 15-year-olds alone in the library. So this gives us the flexibility that, especially in some of our smaller settings where you know the children who are coming to the library and you know the family, that you have some flexibility in terms of who is an unattended child and who is not.
Yeah, I was thinking of like, you know, a 12-year-old babysitter bringing their 8 and 7-year-old charges if that, you know, we're allowing something like that. But,
Any other questions on that policy? Not seeing any. I need, oh, sorry, I lost it here on my page. I need a mover and a seconder that the library board approve the revised, renamed, and updated Children and Teen Services Policy as attached to report number 2022-14. Moved by Laura, seconded by Larry. Any discussion on that? I guess I'll just say then, Lisa Marie, I was happy to see this policy as I think you said in some of your comments, it's like a forward-looking change in the policy. It's not reactive to things we need to do. It's more about things that we feel we need to do going forward. And again, I would just say that's, you know, one of the reasons that that the board made the decision to get you in here was to try to find ways to move these things forward in a way that, as you said, is useful to our staff in the branch in actually delivering the service, as opposed to policies that are sort of in a binder somewhere, never to be looked at again kind of thing. So thank you for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 8.2, 2022-15 Internet Access and Technology Policy. Is there anything you want to highlight in that for the board?
Thank you, Chair. So for this policy, we did work with the IT department here at the county to make sure that we were within the framework that they required. We did make some changes to the policy. In particular, you'll find we updated the language to include network access, computers, and technology that is used in the library. And we tried to put that throughout the entire policy. So we have information on access that has the framework below that you saw in the previous policy. As well, we have information on, sorry, I'm a little bit out of order here in my notes. Information for how library services should be and computer services should be used. We made some small changes to language, took out some language around information on the internet. We felt that at this time, most people should be aware of the information on the internet and how to search. Not that it's not needed in society, but that it's not needed within a policy framework. And generally tried to make changes to the policy that would help assist us in how we set out the information. So the customer responsibility section, for example, was there to help guide staff and the public in terms of what is a responsible use of our equipment and our technology in the library. I welcome any questions or comments. Thank you.
Any questions on that policy? Not seeing any. I will need a mover and a seconder that the library board approve the revised, renamed, and updated Internet Access and Technology Policy as attached to report number 2022-15. Moved by Regina, seconded by Laura. Any discussion, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 8.3, 2022-16 Membership and Circulation Policy. Is there anything you want to highlight in that for the board, Lisa Marie?
Thank you. The former policy was called the circulation policy. We updated a little language there with membership and circulation to help get rid of jargon. Circulation is still there, which is jargon to libraries, but it helps people to understand the membership aspect for library card services. We added a new section called borrower privileges and responsibilities, which added some conditions of membership and gave a list of information from the former policy, including the loan periods, now called borrowing, holds, lost and damaged items, which was formerly fines and fees, and how suspension of borrowing privileges that outline when your privileges would be outlined. We updated the interlibrary loan section to include information put in place in 2019 after the changes were made by the provincial government, and updated the confidentiality of personal information to include information from the privacy and access to personal information policy, which you'll be seeing in September. That's most of what we have here, and I welcome any questions.
Any questions from the board on that policy? David?
Thank you. One of the things I wondered, or at least really the only thing I wondered about, was under the suspension of borrowing privileges, why there's a difference between adults and children and teen, like what the theory is that child and teen gets twice as many overdue fees, and that just wondering, in my mind, they should be treated the same, but I'm just curious what the thinking was.
We gave a little bit more flexibility to children and teens. They often take larger amounts of material at once. So you'll see children come in and take mounds of picture books or easy readers, and teenagers will often come in and take kind of the same mounds of graphic novels, for example. So we wanted to give them a little bit more flexibility in terms of their usage before their items are cut off. And children and teen materials can often be slightly lower in cost when you're dealing with paperback materials, which often you are more often dealing with children and teen materials than you are with adult material.
If I can, I guess I understand they take more, but if you take more, you're more responsible, right? Like, and if I take 20 books out or 30 books out and I don't return them, aren't I in fact impacting more people, right? If it's not there, the next person can't borrow it. And
right.
And I guess there's something about, trying to treat people similarly. And I know we could get into a huge philosophical debate on this. I don't want to, but it just strikes me a little bit funny. And I would suggest that we probably, at least I wouldn't have thought to bring in two different levels. But just my thoughts.
Anyone else on that or any other aspect of the policy? Regina?
Right. It's on page 35 of your board package under suspension of borrowing privileges. Point 1 is the adult card maximums and children and teen card maximums. So adults can borrow have 10 overdue items or less than $30 in fees before their cards are blocked, and children and teen cards are blocked at 20 overdue items or $50 in fees.
Anyone else? Not seeing any, then I will need a mover and a seconder that the library board approve the revised, renamed, and updated membership and circulation policy as attached to report number 2022-16. Moved by Larry, seconded by Regina. Anybody want to speak to that? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, David.
I just actually wanted to come back to that two different levels, but I don't hear anybody else sort of speaking to it, so I'll leave it alone. Sorry. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And no unfinished business, notice of motions. Any new business inquiries or comments? Lisa Marie.
Chair, I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that I have a key agenda items list that I'll be mailing out to the board for the September and October meetings to give you some more information on what to expect to come at those meetings, as we'll have a lot more to cover. So that will be mailed out within the next few days, likely.
Anything else under New business inquiries or comments? No closed session. Motion to adjourn? Julia. And we're adjourned.